Welcome to another episode of Brew Sky's Booze News, where we give you the rundown of the most interesting, most important, or just arbitrary stories from the alcoholic beverage industry. I am Mike Morgan, and this gentleman is...
Brett Coleman Baker. It's nice to meet you.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming. As always, like, subscribe, comment, do all the stuff. You guys know the drill at this point in time. If you really want to show some love, buy us a beer on Patreon. Patreon.
Patronize us.
Patronize us, and we can keep doing what we're doing. This week, we got a lot to talk about. Nothing really huge, but we got a ton of stories, so we're going to jump right into it. Bud Light has...
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Well, I was just trying to get into it this time, and it just elicits this reaction every time. Bud Light has reclaimed 15% of drinkers following their boycott. Now, that might sound like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah.
They're down 30% in sales, and they've only reclaimed...
they were down. I thought they had been down. How are you down 30%? You get back 15%, and you're down 30%.
Well, they only got back 15% of the 30%. So it's only like 4%.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically nothing.
Yeah.
It's the people who all along weren't doing it because they had any moral whatever. They didn't care. They were just doing it because their other redneck hillbilly friends were doing it. And now when the Bud Light became real cheap, they decided, my morals don't really matter. I'm buying cheap beer. That's what I'm chalking it up to.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, year to date, they've lost $40 billion in value. So,
Congrats.
speaking of hypocrites, Kid Rock got caught drinking a Bud Light.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest stories of last week.
I'm shocked. Absolutely shocked.
I am shocked. I also learned, not because I ever cared about Kid Rock, I'm sure the information was out there, but it wasn't until last week in the Bud Light thing that I found out that instead of straight out to trailer, he grew up on a 5,600 square foot home on a horse ranch in the burbs.
Outside of Detroit.
Like this
nowhere near the south.
Beautiful, bucolic.
Yep.
Yeah. Jesus, what a piece of shit.
Yeah, there's nothing about Kid Rock that he's not willing to sell a piece of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go feel frisky, you dumb fuck.
I have been to his honky tonk.
Yeah.
It's 5 stories of just Kid
How
Rock
greasy
glory.
did that make you feel?
I drank a couple Bud Lights and it just made me feel real American. It felt good. Just everybody loves that part of Nashville anyway, right? That's what they all say. It's where the locals go, Broadway.
I don't know.
Whatever the hell that street is. I don't know, it sucks. Beer drinking raccoons.
I'm for it.
Well, the people of Germany are not. They're wreaking havoc all across Germany. They're breaking into homes, they're getting drunk, and they're eating people's food. Apparently, they've never had raccoons before, but someone introduced them because people...
They had to be drunk? Because they do that, like, raccoons are dicks.
Oh, yeah, but they
They're
never
very
had raccoons
aggressive.
in Germany. But people brought them in as pets. They got out.
Dumbasses.
And now they have a population of over 200,000 raccoons, where before, 20 years ago, they had less than 10.
This is like pythons in Florida.
Yes.
Raccoon invasion of Germany.
Except it's just instead breaking in and stealing your food and getting drunk. It's like your buddy from college that still hasn't gotten a job, but you've been rocking it for a couple of years.
Do you think it's do you think because they started out as like German raccoon pets that they drink more than regular raccoons? Which don't drink that much, to my understanding.
Well, I mean, that tracks as far as I'm concerned.
It's why those Florida pythons are they're more dickish than typical pythons.
Oh, for that reason?
Yeah, because they were raised by Floridians.
Well, speaking of dicks, breweries are hiring more AI-related jobs than ever before. AI-related job hiring in breweries is up over 100%.
What the hell are you using AI for in a brewery?
Well, research and intelligence-based job roles, largely in marketing and development. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hey, those people didn't need those jobs. Fuck them. Go technology.
All right, on that note, Costco has been in hot water lately. They've been selling their Kirkland brand vodka, and apparently for the past 2 months, it's been real shitty.
Is it like a Costco-made What is Kirkland vodka? I've never heard of it.
Kirkland's their store brand, like
Okay.
Kirkland whatever, Kirkland
This
water.
is like
Kirkland
Costco
vodka.
generic vodka.
Yes. It's been made
Made in a
by
toilet.
Levecki made this vodka, and apparently it's had an off flavor for like 2 months, so they're doing a massive refund and recall campaign for people.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because I think it ties into an episode we had with a brewery here in Cincinnati once upon a time, where they had all their eggs in one basket making a store brand beer for Kroger, and then Kroger decided they didn't want to buy their contract beer anymore, and then the company went out of business. This, I feel like, is going to happen to Levecki. They probably are selling so much Kirkland brand vodka, but you do something like this where you piss off 2 months worth of customers at Costco?
Yeah. It has to be. Yeah, that
You
has
ain't
to be
recovering.
a huge hit. But here's my question. How did anybody know? I mean, that had to be a really terrible off flavor, because you're not going to buy Costco vodka and sip that shit straight. You know, you're gonna mix it with all kinds of stuff. You're gonna, there's like half a quart of orange juice and whatever. So yeah, I mean, that had to be a really, you had to really be messing that vodka up.
And even to that point is, how did it pass quality tests at the distillery?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
Like, how did you taste
Yes.
that and think, no one's gonna know? I can literally smell this across the room, but no one will know.
Well, I suspect I mean, we have a story of a different brewery in this town, which will also go nameless, where, you know, I know that there were occasions that people on the line or brewmaster would say, no, something went terribly wrong here, and this beer is unfit to drink. And ownership would say, but it's going to cost a lot of money to throw it out. We're selling it. So, yeah, perhaps they missed it somehow, but I suspect they just decided, hey, a bunch of Costco cheap vodka drinkers aren't going to know the difference.
You know what's not craft? Deciding that something tastes bad and you're going to sell it anyway.
Correct.
That is not a craft thing to do.
That's corporate, baby.
That's the opposite of that. Mm-hmm. That is just sad. Okay. Lester Jones, he's the chief economist for the National Beer Wholesalers Association.
Thank God you explained. I thought I was supposed to know him.
He's infamous in the industry for those who follow such things. Yeah. But he basically came out at the National Beer Wholesalers Association big convention this year, halfway through the year, and said, beer is doing bad. It is not doing well. Things are not good, and we need to seriously look ourselves in the mirror and figure out what the hell we're doing, because it's only going to get worse if we don't try to get ahead of this now. He made note of the fact that there is new permits constantly coming in. There's 14,500 brewery permits now approved through the TTB.
Good
There's
God.
not that many breweries open. There's only about 10,000 open. But the fact there's 14,500 is a problem. The fact that every state
Well, the fact that we have almost 10,000 in existence, and what those numbers are saying is that we're about to increase that 10,000 by almost another 5,000.
Yeah, almost 50%.
Good God.
Yep. And beer sales are down, especially draft. Every state, except for Nebraska, which only had a -1, every state had a positive increase in total number of breweries. Nebraska went down 1. And another bigger issue is that brewery tap rooms continue to skirt Tidehouse laws by opening up more and more tap rooms.
Yeah.
Which isn't good when the Wholesalers Association is looking at restaurants being down, draft beer being down, yet brewery tap rooms keep opening. And you know who brewery tap rooms take business from?
Restaurants and bars.
Restaurants and bars. You know who the #1 customer for the Beer Wholesalers Association is?
Restaurant and bars.
So what's going to happen when beer keeps still going bad and distributors aren't doing well? Who's going to team up to try to fuck the breweries?
There's a lot of, bad tactical moves and cannibalism going on there. What I'm going to do first is mop all of this sweat off myself, because the air conditioner is out here in the studio, and it's been a heat index of 110.
With 100% humidity, and we're on the 3rd floor of a building.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm incredibly swampy right now. But to back up, to explain to anybody that doesn't know what you're referring to, what you're talking about when you're talking about Tidehouse System, what it means is that in the 19th century, breweries owned saloons directly, and they owned bars so that they could control the end retail. You know, they could say that we own this big ass bar and you're only allowed to sell our beer in this bar. And that became illegal actually before Prohibition, but post-Prohibition laws in every state prohibited that. It's why we have the 3-tier system, and breweries are not allowed to own bars. And it's even taken to the extent, sometimes to an extreme, that nobody that owns any percentage of a bar is supposed to be allowed to own any percentage of a brewery, or vice versa.
Yep.
But what some breweries have started to do, and we sometimes rag on BrewDog for the reason that, well, there's a couple reasons, but the primary reason is that they have really kind of led that movement of where they open breweries like one that we have here in Cincinnati that aren't really breweries. What they're really doing is they're opening a chain of bars, but by brewing like some tiny little batch of beer in the back, they get to call themselves a brewery, and they get out of the prohibition of the Tidehouse system.
Which means they don't have to use a distributor to get their beer to that place, even though they're not making it at the place you're going to. If you're going to the third location of a brewery, I guarantee they're not making the beer that you're drinking at that brewery. They're making it at their main place and shipping it in. So they're saving the cut from the distributor. They're working around that, and they're undermining the profit margin that restaurants and bars have to deal with, because they have to buy from a distributor. So they're paying the additional 30% that this brewery's not paying. So it's only a matter of time before breweries could potentially even start undercutting bars and restaurants, and then it's going to be an even bigger issue.
So they could actually start selling for less. They could be not just competition to their customers, but they could have the financial edge to be able to sell cheaper.
Yes.
I already know a couple of bar owners that, like with that BrewDog as an example, I know a couple of owners we have at least 2 breweries that have done that locally. Actually, there's 3 or 4 now, really.
There's 3.
And so, you know, I know bar owners that say, hey, you know, I took that off tap. Because if you know, I have been loyal to this brewery, but if this brewery decides that they're now going to go in competition with me, screw them, man.
Yeah, breweries already have it good. The fact that we're allowed to have tap rooms and we don't have to sell beer from our brewery to the brewery tap room through a distributor is good. We have it very good. We're allowed, at least in the state of Ohio, to get a permit add-on where we can sell guest beer, guest wine, and guest liquor, basically making us full bars. I mean, shit is good. If you can't make it work as a company with that, and you got to try to skirt around the laws, screwing over all of your best customers, which is bars and restaurants, we're asking for trouble, and I don't like it. And I'm tired of the people in the beer industry pretending like this isn't a problem, because it is a problem. And I lose some respect for breweries that do that. I get why they do it, and I get you got to try to protect your nest egg and your investment, but fuck. You're just making things more difficult for everyone, and 5 years from now, it's going to be a very major problem.
Have you noticed how, as a society, we seem to just keep making it more difficult for everyone as a trend? It's a trend in everything. AI, brewing, like our whole economy seems to be stuck into a spiral of how do we all stab each other in the back until dead.
Yeah, it's really just sad. It
feels like Vietnam in here. Is that what you're about to say?
All right, let's play a guessing game. The top 20 countries per capita drinking. Any idea? Can you guess top
per capita? Well, we've already established that the Philippines is drunk as hell.
Yep.
So that's going to be one of them.
This is beer.
Oh, beer drinking.
Yeah, sorry.
They're drinking liquor there.
Yes, this is beer. Guess where the USA is first, and then we'll do top 5.
I would guess USA is number 3.
USA is, in fact, number 17.
Shit.
Yep.
Wow, we got to pick it up.
We got a lot of prudes and teetotalers in our country, a surprising amount percentage-wise, more than others.
Germany is obviously way up there.
They're number 5. Good guess.
But not number 1. Above Germany would be England's going to be high, I would think. Although there's some
England is not in the top 5.
It's not in the top 5.
No.
Other really drunk
Think
countries.
Eastern European.
Beer.
Almost
Russia's
exclusively.
all vodka, I would think. Ukraine, they grow a lot of barley. Is
They
Ukraine
do.
there in
They
that
grow
list?
a ton of malt for the European brewers. No, the top 5: Germany, Romania, Poland,
All right.
Austria, Czech Republic. It's actually cheaper to drink in the Czech Republic
because-
than it is to buy a bottle of water. It's
Yep.
cheaper to buy a pint of beer. So
The home of Pilsner.
yes,
I mean, those guys, yeah.
yeah, they've earned it. They've earned it. Beer is down in sales. We've talked about that for what,
All
months?
it-
Basically
craft
since
or
we
just-
started this.
Yeah, beer across the board.
Beer across the board. Now, is the sky falling? No, because beer profit is up. Well, profit, dollar revenue is up by 3%. So even though sales are down more than 3%, revenue's up. So what does that tell you?
Well, it tells me a few things. First of all, we have discussed a little bit that during COVID, the prices of everything went, well, and post-COVID, all the supply chain disruptions, prices of everything went up. But if you're a really huge brewery, if you're AB InBev or somebody, you have multi-year contracts with price locks. So those price increases have screwed craft, but they have just allowed the really huge breweries to jack up prices because everybody just expected
Yep.
prices to go up, even though their cost actually hadn't increased. It was just an opportunity for them to dramatically increase their profit margins. So I would guess, much like the stock market, that it's not like all boats are rising. There's a handful of really rich fuckers
Yes.
that are skewing those numbers.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's inflation via corporate greed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Back to that stabbing her. Yeah, all right.
most expensive.
Blue Skies Booze News, where we cheer you up with optimism.
Most expensive whiskeys at auction
Oh, God.
in 2023. Can you guess the price of number 1? I'll give you a hint. It's the Macallan, over 50 years old. 1928 is the bottle date.
1928. I would.
Well, that's the barrel date. Jesus
say. I assume it's crazy. $1.5 million.
Actually, it's only 100,000 pounds.
Okay.
So, not bad. That's the most expensive whiskey at auction. If you need another reason why drinking brown spirits, overpriced brown spirits is dumb, just look at that.
I had a bottle of pre-World War I whiskey once, and I had some friends that were kind of in the business. That's before all this stuff really exploded and got crazy. So it's still valuable, but it wasn't like a crazy market for it. But they invited me and some people over to drink this bottle of, pre-World War I whiskey. And it was fine. I mean, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
And I loved doing it, and I loved that they invited me to be part of it. But would I have paid a massive amount of money for that bottle? Absolutely not. It was highly mediocre whiskey.
I feel like the thought experience of drinking something that old is more valuable
Yeah.
than anything else. You're thinking about what was going on at the time.
Right.
How did this make it to me? All of
Yes.
these years, now I'm enjoying. That's the best part. The liquid
Yeah, the
itself.
story of it. The story
Yes,
of it
yes.
is really cool. The romance around it.
Okay, 40 biggest beer companies in the world by volume. Now, I guarantee you probably won't guess number 3. That didn't sound like some clickbait. I don't know what does. So can you guess the top, 5?
AB InBev is
Number 1. Number 2 is half of the volume of AB InBev.
Half the volume.
Half. So that is insane in the entire world.
Part of the problem is with all the mergers, I don't even remember what is Heineken now?
Heineken's number 2.
Okay. And then, who the hell owns Modelo?
Constellation?
Are they in the
Diageo?
top 5? Diageo? Yeah, it's Diageo, I think. Are they in top 5?
No.
Who's the rest of it?
China Snow Brewery is number 3.
Who the fuck is that?
Yeah, they make a beer called Snow in China, and they sell a fuck ton of it. It's basically the Bud Light of China.
It's China.
Carlsberg's number 4.
China.
Molson Coors. Molson Coors is number 5.
That's as far as my Trump impersonation goes.
Oh, that was a Trump impersonation?
China.
Oh my. Oh my. Okay, the French wine update of the week is that it's looking good. It's hot over there. They're going to get a little less grape yield.
Hot in here.
But they're going to have better tasting wines.
I think I'm making wine right now.
Well, speaking of bummers of the week, Biden alcohol czar Dr. George Koob, Dr. George Koob, he says that they are looking at slashing the recommended alcohol consumption rate from 2 drinks per day for a man and 1 for a woman to 2 drinks per week. So they're going to update the USDA guidelines in a very negative way, in my opinion.
Well, very negative for sales. But does anybody really listen to that shit anyway? I mean, sure, there's a lot of people at times that will justify what they're already going to do by saying, oh, well, they say 2 is good for you a day.
Yeah.
But
and 2's basically 4, so why not have 5?
Exactly. And that's exactly what happens, right? I mean, okay, 2 is bad. 4 might be bad for me, but 2 is good for me. So, really I only had 2 that were bad for me.
You have 2 good ones, 2 bad ones. It's a net negative. It's a net 0.
Right. Yeah, I don't think anybody's paying attention to that shit anyway.
Well, I think the bigger issue, at least from an insider standpoint, is that it's this neo-prohibitionist movement of no safe amount, these reduced guidelines, these cutting back on blood alcohol content for driving, things that are generally probably good for people. It's indicative of potentially people in power with prohibitionist mindsets that are starting to get a little bit more foothold. And that's the bigger worry is, don't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type of situation. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's not, but that's kind of where my worry's at, is I don't want to see this continue. This shouldn't be a slippery slope. Non-alcoholic story of the week.
Because the same thing, this is almost simultaneous with Canada doing the same thing, right?
Yes, exactly. That's actually what the USA is basing off these recommendations is Canada going down to 2 drinks per week. So
the one fucking thing we look to Canada to learn from is that it can't be the healthcare system. Oh, I've never heard of the Canadian healthcare system, but you know what I heard? I heard that they said that 2 beers a day is not good for you anymore. That's what we should emulate. Good God.
Our non-alcoholic story of the week, at least the one I have, is Trump indictment photo has dropped. Trump is looking for Fulton County to do to his popularity what Ray J did to Kim Kardashian's. And that's my non-alcoholic story of the week.
Yeah, it's obviously non-news that he's been arrested once again. He gets arrested about once a week because, either witch hunt or he's a criminal that staged a almost successful coup against the United States government.
Take your pick.
Yeah, one or the other. But this is the first time that he has been mugshotted, and it is pretty fun.
What's funny is that apparently he weighs less than I do.
What?
He self-reported his weight at 215 pounds.
Did he also self-report his dick at 13 inches? I mean, is there nothing he doesn't lie about?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a double. Is there anything that he doesn't lie about? He's going to lie about everything. You know what's also not news this week? Prigozhin. I actually
that's a good one.
Laughed out loud when I read that headline that his plane had exploded. What the hell took that so long?
I like to believe that it was just bad luck.
Trump made an announcement around that it, unlike Epstein, that was clearly suicide.
Our question of the week for you, Mike, is this. How do you feel about frosted glasses?
I mean, I don't hate them, and particularly when it's hot. I would like to have one right now, quite frankly. But I think that people get kind of obsessive about them. They take up a massive amount of room in coolers, and I don't care that much. I just don't care.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. I like how there's fervent people on both sides of the frosted glass thing, though. Some people are like, all my beer in frosted glass, and other people are like, frosted glass ruins the taste of beer. Well, I don't know. It's whatever.
It's going to chill it a little bit, and further chilling a beer, it takes the more flavor out of it while it's that cold. It's why you drink Coors, cold as the Rockies, because it tastes like shit. But there's going to be those people, my beer's got to be as cold as my beer could possibly be because I don't actually like the taste of it. Yeah, I understand those people and why they're obsessed over it, but everybody just get over yourself.
I like to take it as a moment to slow drink my beer rather than just chugging it like I normally do. And notice how flavors come out, especially if you get like an IPA, like a Bell's Two Hearted in a frosted glass. It might not taste like a whole lot, but then as it starts to warm up, you really notice a ton of change in flavor. It
stays pleasantly chilled longer, but at the same time, you do get kind of a flavor change. Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we're 4 frosted glasses then.
All right. We're 4 frosted glasses. Yeah. Cheers.
We are, by the way, drinking coffee this week because we're going to go shoot things. And it has a purpose. There'll be a full explanation. But look for an additional Brew Skies video next week of us on a shooting spree where no one will die.
Here's to you, Kid Rock.
Poser. So this has been Brew Skies. We love you guys. Have a great week.
Cheers.